What if the family Christmas dinner you dreaded most ended with your own parents speechless, staring at you like they'd never seen you before? Tonight, I'm sharing the moment I stopped being the family disappointment and became something they could never imagine. You won't believe what happened next. The snow fell gently outside the frosted windows, but inside my parents' dining room, the air already felt thick with expectation. Candles flickered along the long oak table, casting warm golden pools across red velvet ribbons and polished silver. The Christmas tree in the corner blinked softly, red, green, gold, like it was trying to convince everyone this was still a magical night. The rich, buttery scent of roasted turkey mingled with cinnamon and pine, wrapping the house in that perfect holiday illusion. From the street, it probably looked like every Christmas card ever printed. A happy family gathered, laughter, tradition, warmth. But I knew the truth. I'd almost canceled. Twice. For years now, these gatherings had stopped feeling like home. They felt like an annual performance review where I was always the one falling short. My older brother Daniel had the spotlight. VP title, sprawling house in the suburbs, photogenic wife, 2 kids who called him Daddy in commercials-worthy voices. He was the benchmark. I was the question mark. Still, it was Christmas, so I came. The front door had barely clicked shut behind me when Mom's voice sliced through from the kitchen. "You're late." "Only 10 minutes," I said, hanging my coat. Dad didn't even turn from his seat at the head of the table. "Daniel and Sarah arrived an hour ago." Of course they had. Daniel rose, flashed his easy smile, and pulled me into a quick, firm hug. "Good to see you, little bro." "Yeah, you too." Dinner began politely enough. Plates clinked, cranberry sauce was passed, soft carols drifted from the speakers. Relatives made the usual small talk. Weather, recipes, whose kid got into which college. I stayed quiet, focusing on cutting my turkey into smaller and smaller pieces. Then Aunt Linda, sweet, oblivious Aunt Linda, turned to me with that gentle smile. "So, how's work going these days, sweetheart?" The question landed like a match in dry grass. Mom set her fork down with deliberate slowness. A sigh escaped her, heavy and practiced. "Work," she repeated, as though the word itself tasted bitter. The table fell quiet. Even the Christmas music seemed to fade. She looked straight at me, eyes sharp. "I think we should be honest with everyone tonight." My stomach clenched. "Mom," but she was already rolling forward. "Your father and we're ashamed." The word detonated. Ashamed. Aunt Linda blinked. "Ashamed?" Mom nodded once. "Yes. While Daniel has built a real career, a real life, our younger son drifts. Strange projects, half-finished ideas, jumping from one thing to another." Dad shook his head slowly, like he'd given up explaining me years ago. "We don't understand his choices anymore." Daniel shifted in his seat. "Mom, maybe we shouldn't—" She cut him off. "He's almost 30. 30! And we still can't tell people what he actually does." Silence pressed down like a physical weight. Every pair of eyes at the table fixed on me, waiting for the usual. Deflection, silence, retreat. For years, that's exactly what I'd given them. But tonight, something cracked. The word ashamed echoed in my skull, louder than the ticking grandfather clock on the wall. I set my fork down carefully. Metal clicked against porcelain. I looked up, straight into my mother's eyes. "Okay," I said, voice low and even. "If you're ashamed of me, then this is the perfect time to tell everyone the truth." Mom's mouth opened slightly, confidence flickering for the first time. The room held its breath. Dad leaned back, arms crossed, waiting for what he clearly expected to be another flimsy excuse. I took a slow sip of water, letting the quiet stretch. Then I began. 3 years ago, I began, keeping my voice steady. I stopped talking about my work here. Not because I was hiding, because every time I tried, it turned into another comparison. Another reason Daniel was winning and I was losing. Daniel raised both hands. "Hey, leave me out of this one." "I'm not blaming you," I said quickly. "I'm just saying what happened." Mom rolled her eyes, the familiar gesture that usually ended these conversations. "This sounds like another excuse." I let it slide. I reached into my pocket and set my phone face down on the tablecloth. The small clack seemed louder than it should have. I started a software platform with 2 friends from college. Logistics, supply chain tracking, real-time visibility for cargo moving across oceans, through ports, warehouses, factories, everything. Dad's brow furrowed. "Sounds complicated." It is. That's why it took 3 years of 16-hour days, sleeping on couches, eating instant noodles, rewriting code at 4 a.m. because a server in Singapore crashed again. My cousin leaned in, eyes bright with curiosity. "So, what exactly does it do?" I glanced around the table. Every face was locked on me now, not with judgment, but something closer to confusion. "It lets companies see exactly where their shipments are, down to the container. No more lost at sea for weeks. No more surprise delays costing millions. Factories don't run out of parts. Retailers don't run out of stock before Black Friday. It saves time. It saves money. A lot of money." Mom tapped her nails once, twice. "So you made an app?" I almost laughed. "It's more than an app." I turned my phone over and opened the screen. A simple dashboard glowed, clean lines, maps pulsing with live data points, numbers ticking in real time. "Last month," I said, "a major tech company reached out. They'd been watching our beta users. They ran their own analysis. They made an offer." The room seemed to shrink. Even the candles felt stiller. Dad tilted forward. "An offer to buy it?" I nodded once. Mom's voice came out thinner than usual. "And how much did they offer for your little project?" I met her eyes, held them. $200 million. The number landed like a stone dropped into deep water. Ripples spread in slow motion. My cousin let out a startled laugh, half disbelief, half awe. "Wait, you're serious?" I didn't blink. Dead serious. Daniel's eyebrows climbed. 200 million. Dad blinked rapidly, doing mental math. "You're joking." "I wish I was joking," I said quietly. "The paperwork is signed. The deal closes in January. It'll be public next month." Silence stretched so long I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Mom stared at my phone like it might bite her. How much of that is yours?" I leaned back in the chair, feeling the wood creak under me for the first time all night. "About 30%. Dad's lips moved silently, his eyes widened. 60 million. The figure hung there, impossible and real at the same time. Daniel let out a low whistle. "Damn, that explains a lot." No one laughed. No one moved. I looked back at my mother. Her fork still rested untouched beside her plate. Her shoulders had lost their rigid line. The woman who'd called me a disappointment 10 minutes earlier now looked like someone had pulled the floor out from under her. The Christmas lights kept blinking, red, green, gold, casting soft colors across stunned faces. I spoke again, softer this time. "You said you were ashamed of me." She flinched, just barely. I didn't know, she whispered. That's the point, I said. You never asked. The words settled over the table like fresh snow. No one rushed to fill the quiet. For the first time in years, I didn't feel small in this room. The silence lasted longer than any awkward pause this family had ever endured. The grandfather clock in the hallway ticked on, indifferent. Outside, wind brushed snow against the windows like soft fingertips. Inside, the turkey had gone cold on every plate. My mother's gaze dropped to her hands folded in her lap. For once, she didn't have a quick reply, no sigh, no pointed comment to redirect the spotlight. Dad cleared his throat, the sound rough in the stillness. 60 million, he repeated, almost to himself, as though saying it again might make the number feel less surreal. Daniel leaned forward, elbows on the table now, studying me with something new in his eyes, respect, maybe even a flicker of pride. So you've been grinding in silence this whole time. No big announcements, no look at me posts. He gave a small, crooked smile. That's actually pretty badass, man. I shrugged lightly. I figured results would speak louder than updates. Aunt Linda reached over and touched my wrist gently. We had no idea. None. That's okay, I said. I didn't exactly advertise it. Mom finally lifted her eyes. They were glassy, uncertain. The sharp edges she'd worn all evening had dulled. I thought... Her voice cracked on the first word. She tried again. I thought you were just... avoiding responsibility, floating, like before. Before, I echoed quietly. You mean the years I spent trying different paths, failing a few times, learning? The years you kept reminding me Daniel never needed to find himself? She winced. I didn't press harder. There was no need. The truth had already done the work. I never wanted to rub anyone's face in it, I continued. I just wanted space to build something without the constant scorecard, without hearing how I measured up. Daniel nodded slowly. I get it. More than you think. Sarah, his wife, who'd been mostly silent all night, spoke up softly. You must have been terrified. All that pressure? All those nights wondering if it would actually work? Yeah, I admitted. There were plenty of nights I thought we'd lose everything. Our savings, our friendships, 3 years of my life. But we kept going. Mom's lower lip trembled, just once. I said I was ashamed. The words came out small. I'm the one who should be ashamed now. The admission hung there, fragile. No one jumped in to comfort her. Not yet. Instead, I looked around the table, at the stunned faces, the half-eaten plates, the Christmas tree lights still blinking like they hadn't noticed the earthquake that just happened beneath the surface. I didn't come here tonight to prove anything, I said. I came because it's Christmas, because you're still my family, even when it hurts. Dad rubbed his jaw, eyes distant. We've been looking at the wrong things. Aunt Linda dabbed at her eyes with her napkin. You've done something extraordinary, sweetheart, and we missed it. I let out a slow breath. You didn't miss it. It was always there, you just weren't looking. The quiet returned, but it felt different now. Not heavy with judgment. Lighter, almost careful, like everyone was suddenly aware they were standing on new ground. Daniel raised his water glass. To my little brother, he said, voice steady, who apparently has bigger balls than the rest of us combined. A nervous chuckle rippled around the table. Even Mom's lips twitched, though she didn't quite smile. I lifted my own glass in return. To figuring things out. Eventually. We drank. The clink of glass on glass sounded almost hopeful. Later, After dessert was quietly served and conversation drifted to safer topics, weather forecasts, neighbor gossip, plans for New Year's, the tension didn't fully vanish. It lingered like smoke after a fire. But something had shifted irreversibly. For years, I'd carried their disappointment like a second skin. Tonight, I left most of it behind on that dining room chair. As I helped clear plates, Mom caught my arm in the kitchen doorway, away from the others. "I'm sorry," she whispered. The words sounded foreign coming from her. I nodded once. "I know." She searched my face. "Will you tell us more when you're ready?" "Maybe," I said, "if you're ready to listen." She didn't argue. Outside, the snow had thickened, blanketing the street in quiet white. I stepped onto the porch to leave, breath fogging in the cold. Behind me, the house glowed warm through the windows. Same candles, same tree, same family. But it didn't feel like the same place anymore. And for the first time in a long time, neither did I.